Hello, Consciously Parenting family, and welcome to the Conscious Coffee Break. I'm Jen Kobrick. I'm a holistic family consultant with the Consciously Parenting Project, and today we are talking about self-compassion. And specifically, I'm talking about self-compassion when it comes to eating habits, dieting, losing weight. And I know that this is a parenting show generally, but I'm guessing that I'm not the only parent who has dealt with the COVID-15 and who has struggled with eating habits and stress eating and emotional eating and things like that. So all of this can apply to self-compassion towards parenting fails, towards our kids and their struggles, towards all kinds of other things. But I'm going to specifically talk about this because that is the format through which I had this realization recently. And like I said, I have a feeling I'm not the only person who is thinking about these things. So I have struggled for as long as I can remember with my relationship with food, that I have a real tendency to eat badly when I'm stressed, anxious, worried, when I've been fighting with my kids, when I'm tired. And you can imagine that all of those things have ramped up during parenting and have ramped up even more during COVID. And so it's been a struggle for the last year. And I have also, as long as I can remember, followed any of my unhealthy eating with lots of shame towards myself, with lots of what's wrong with me? Why can't I just stop doing this? Why can't I stick to a plan about what I'm going to eat? Why can't I control myself? And that narrative, as I'm sure that many of you who've experienced a similar narrative can attest to, it doesn't work. It does not actually make things easier. And if anything, it adds to the stress load, the emotional load, and makes it more likely that I'm going to have a hard time with sticking to my plan the next time around. So flash forward to last week, and I've been doing a different meditation practice in the last couple of months, and it really has recently been focused on compassion and kindness towards yourself and towards others, as well as, of course, I've been steeped in this consciously parenting work for years now, and the two finally met last week. I finally had this realization of how powerful self-compassion could be towards those eating fails. And I don't mean self-compassion in the sense of, oh, you can do this, you'll do better next time, that kind of thing. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but at least for myself, that never worked because I always knew that it wasn't true. I always knew on some level that I wasn't going to do better next time, that I wasn't going to make a different choice. And so that kind of self-talk never really sunk in. And I still believe that if it's not genuine, if it's not what you genuinely believe and feel, you can't trick yourself. So what I realized is that the way I talk to my children and to other parents when they're struggling with something is I look for a positive reason. And I do that because I know that all behavior for children and adults too is adaptive. That all people do the best they can with the tools and circumstances that they have. That when we're struggling, when we're doing something that seems like it's not a productive choice, there's always a reason. There's always a good reason, a positive reason. And when it comes to eating, I've always told myself, well, get better tools. And now you've got tools. So now what's wrong with you that you're not following through? And I finally realized that what I really needed to hear from myself was, what was the positive reason? Why am I doing this? What need am I trying to get met? The best way that my instincts know how. And so instead of telling myself that I was going to do better next time or that there's something wrong with me, I started telling myself, thank you for trying to help me get my emotional needs met. And thank you for trying to get my body enough energy to deal with this stress. Thank you for trying to respond to this stressful situation in a way that would make a lot of good sense if it was a physical stressor. If there was food insecurity or physical danger, then it would make sense to have some extra calories stored away. And for my body, it doesn't know the difference. Stress is stress. So I started looking for all of these ways that my body is trying to meet my needs that are not being met in other ways. And I know that I do actually have the tools to meet those needs when I can slow down enough to see the pattern, what it's trying to accomplish, and then be able to look at my toolbox and say, okay, how can I meet the need that's actually trying to be met here so that my body doesn't need to try to meet it with cookies anymore? And that's the exact same thing that I do with my kids and with other parents all the time. I look for this destructive behavior. What need is it trying to meet? And how can we go ahead and meet that need in a positive, affirming, healthy way so that there's no need for this destructive pattern anymore? And it's a lot harder sometimes to turn that lens of self-compassion on myself. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who's experienced that either. So that's my new journey here, is to try to offer some true self-compassion in the sense of validation, understanding, and seeing where I'm coming from, rather than empty feeling affirmations. I can imagine that it might be hard to see what positive attempt is being made when you don't have as much experience as I do doing that with other people. And so if that's you, then I want to invite you to come join us on one of our free community calls, or post something in our free community group on Facebook, or send us an email and let us help you connect with some one-on-one support, because it is often easier to see these things in ourselves when someone else has seen it in us. And I know that those are situations in which there will be people who can see those things in you if you can't see them in yourself right now. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that whatever you're struggling with, that you are trying to meet some positive need. And that if you need a different way to meet it, that there is a different way out there. And it may just need some support to find that way. So as always, feel free to let us know if you have comments or questions, and I will see you next week on the next coffee break.